Mm-hmm. Testing, testing. Can you see? Oh, interesting. Whoa, that's cool. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Hopefully, I'm live right now. I'm trying to go live on Facebook. I'm using this application called Restream. So, still trying to get used to it, still trying to get all the kinks out of it. But I just wanted to share today how a mentorship student was able to get to about $8,000 per month. He added about $6,000 per month to his monthly recurring revenue in about over the last 14 days. So, I just kind of want to share that and do some of the different principles that we've learned along the ways. Because I know that when I got started with my accounting firm back in 2014, like it was tremendously difficult, right? Because I didn't really know about pricing, I didn't know about marketing, I didn't really know about sales, and it led me to have a lot more struggle than what I needed to in order to grow. I was talking, I was talking to this one person. And she said it took you 15 months to have your first like $14,000 a month when you're first starting. I was like, yeah, it took a long time for me, right? But it's just one of those things where once you learn what to do and once you know exactly what to repeat, you can just keep going, going, going until you hit whatever your revenue goal is, or you get satisfied, or you want to do something else. So I just want to jump into this thing and share with you what happened. So a couple housewarming things. Number one, I'm going to be asking you guys a number of different things like prompts. Like I'll be like, hey, comment this, or like this video at certain points inside of this video. Now, the reason for that is because we want other people to be able to see this video. The way social media works is that if a video does not get any kind of engagement, Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube does not really think it's as valuable as what it may be, right? So the more that you guys comment, the more you guys engage. One, the more you'll be able to remember the stuff you learn, and two, the more we'll be able to show it to more people. So if you're watching this thing live, write hashtag team live so I know I'm here with that you're here with me. If you're watching this thing on the replay, write down hashtag team replay. And also, if at any time you want for me to connect with you to answer some of your questions you might have about growing your business, write hashtag connect. And finally, if you want to see if I can help you grow your business, you're tired of making some mistakes, maybe you want to grow, you just don't really know what you don't know, go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me. Okay, it's going to take you to my calendar. You can choose a time that fits you the best to see if I can help you grow your business. All right, so let's jump into this thing. Okay, so number one, okay, the biggest thing that happened when the student was going and adding the additional $6,000 over the last 14 days was auxiliary services. So a lot of people, they really struggle because if the person cannot afford to pay them a high monthly price, or the person does not value the service at a high enough monthly price, they end up taking the client on for a really, really low amount of money. Okay, so the way that you can kind of get around that is by having auxiliary services. So, number one, you need to identify, does the business owner have more money? It's just a matter of value. Like he has like $1 million in the bank, he has $100,000 in the bank, however much money they have in the bank over whatever my service is worth, right? But they're only willing to pay me $300 a month, $400 a month, whatever the monthly price is. If the answer is yes, they have more money, that means that we can add on more services to their order, essentially to bump up that price so that we are able to offer, you know, we're able to get more money without necessarily having to add on more time. So there are other services that you can add to somebody that is not going to take as much time as transactional accounting and bookkeeping, but it can still lead to you being able to grow your business pretty fast. For example, a good secondary alternative is virtual administrative services. Okay, so this basically means that there's a lot of different things that a business owner might need, right? So in addition to doing their accounting and bookkeeping, you can handle their other back office needs as well. Another one is if you offer like taxes or tax planning. Okay, that's a big service that works really well with actually bookkeeping, right? One of my students has what I call the big four. Okay, so she will do tax resolution for someone who's in trouble with the IRS. Then, if they own a business, she will do their accounting and their bookkeeping for them, right? So they keep everything organized. Then she will actually help them with a tax plan so that they never have to worry about that first service again, the tax resolution. And she'll also do their tax return for them, right? That's four main services. And the average amount of money per client that she gets is extraordinarily large, right? So she get $10,000 to $12,000 for the tax resolution. Then she'll be charged them anywhere between $300 to about $1,500 on the low end per month for the accounting and bookkeeping. Then for the tax plan, she will save them percentage of whatever she's going to save them throughout the year for the tax plan. Then she does the tax return. The tax return is not really that much money, to be completely honest, but money is still money in certain cases, especially if it's not going to take you a lot of time, right? So that's how you go and add. So every single client that she gets, whereas the average person, they only have bookkeeping services, they're only going to make, $500 if that person can do it, but she can also extend how much money they're willing to pay, right? So even if she only offered bookkeeping plus virtual assistants, let's say that, for example, the accounting is only going to be about $750 a month, right? Let's say that she's able to double the price by just adding virtual administrative services, right? So now you're at $1,500 per month. Then let's say you have an additional service you can offer. Maybe it's like I don't know exactly at this moment what your specific service mix might be. It might be budgeting, right? You can add that on as well. It could be forecasting. You can add that on as well. It could be trend analysis. You can add that on as well. It could be payroll. And you keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. And pretty soon you're sitting at about $2,000 a month, whereas the person was only willing to pay you about $750 per month for bookkeeping in the beginning, right? It's just these little things that can add up over time that allow you to be able to make more money. Okay, so that's step number one. If you guys understand auxiliary services, go ahead and put a 1 down inside of the to activate the chat, please do that. Okay, chats. How do we turn off the chat? Cool. If you understand this, put a 1 down below. I don't really know how to use the chat feature here, but whatever. Just how it is sometimes. Cool. So next thing, okay, number 2 is all about sales. So how do you actually do this? So a lot of people struggle because as soon as the business owner says that their price is too high, most people tend to panic and then they tend to stop thinking, which causes them not to be able to offer auxiliary services or not to be able to think on their feet enough to get the person to change their mind and then really want to work with them, okay? So let's talk about what is the difference between closing and presenting, okay? The reason why most people struggle is because they're trying to present while they should be trying to close. Now, presenting means that during your presentation, you're saying, hey, this is how I can help you, this is how I can help you, this is how I can help you. Most people, they end up kind of doing like they're just they're trying to prove themselves to the other person, right? And they're trying really hard, but they're over trying. They're coming across incorrectly, right? They're coming across like they don't have a lot of confidence in themselves. And when you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, people then associate that lack of confidence that you are not good at what service you are offering, right? So that's number 1. Now, when that happens and you say what your price is, you need to be switching over to what's called closing. If you are still trying to prove yourself and the person says your price is too high, like, well, it's not that high, blah, 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 here's why you need me, or here's why, blah, it does not come across correctly. And what actually comes across is like very for lack of a better word, like you don't know what you're doing, right? And some people use the word desperate. I don't necessarily say it's the word desperate, but it does come across in an unputting and off-putting sort of way. So you need to instead learn how to close. Number 1, when it comes to closing, you always assume the person is going to say yes. This is called assuming the close. I have some videos inside of my training program of like students on live consultations. And I was watching one recently. And it was so funny how a lot of the students, they'll be talking. Okay, the price is $5,000 a month. Which credit card are you going to be paying with? And then the person's like, oh, I'll probably use my Visa card. And I'm like, okay. And they just go, right? Now, the key thing about that is the person didn't ask, do you want to get started? Do you want to buy? They just assumed the person was already in, right? It's really kind of unique. And it's just so interesting to watch because it's just like, you have so much confidence in yourself and your ability to perform the service that you don't even care if the person thinks the price is expensive. It's almost like, this is the value, this is how much it's worth. Are you doing this or are you not doing this? And then most people, if they're qualified, if they have the right amount of money, if they trust you, if they like you, if they know you, they will go, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, when it comes to closing is most people are trying to prove themselves. You cannot be trying to prove yourself inside of the close. Your job, you should have already done a good job in the presentation. At that point, you need to be really just understanding where are the places you lost them at inside the presentation, where are their main hangups, and what are they not telling you that's causing them not to want to move forward. Okay, when you understand that, that's when you can actually close somebody. Oftentimes what happens is someone's going to say like, hey, I need to think about it, or your price is too high, or I don't know if I can do that, or we don't have the cash flow for it, it's just not in the budget. And most people are like, wait, why is it not in the budget? Blah, 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 blah. Instead, you need to come from a place of, we call it the DCI framework. That just stands for diffuse, okay? Diffuse means you're, okay, I understand. We're calming down. It's no longer a fight. You're not in a fight. You're just in a conversation between 2 to 3 business owners who are trying to work together to make sure this thing works. So number 1 is you have to diffuse the situation so they don't think they're in a boxing match. They still think they're in a conversation, right? If you don't do this, they're going to get defensive. You're going to get defensive. It's going to be an argument, and they're never going to talk to you again, and you'll get what's called ghosted, right? Next thing is you have to do what's called clarify, right? You have to clarify what is the real problem. Oftentimes it's You repeat whatever they say, then you ask them a question. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Okay, and now they're going to tell you about what is the real problem. Your job here is to listen to them. Okay, listen. It's not about what you say in the close. It's about what you hear and what you interpret. Right. So we're listening to what is a real issue? What is a real thing that's stopping them from moving forward and working with you? Once we understand that, now we can start moving forward. But before we move forward, we handle what's called the objection. The objection is like the I need to think about it. It's a very specific statement that causes someone not to move. Before we handle and we deal with that, you need to make sure that the thing they just said and that they just clarified is not the only thing stopping the sale. That's where the I comes in the DCI framework. That stands for isolate. Okay? What you need to ask there is this thing, outside of you needing to think about it because you just ordered this new $1 million machine and your cash flow is a little bit lower than what you anticipated. Other than that, is that the only thing stopping us from moving forward? Or outside of the fact that you say that, this is a little bit more expensive than, your last CPA, is there anything else that's stopping us from getting started today? Generally, if the person says yes, you need to hear exactly, if someone says yes, then you can move forward, you can handle the objection. If the person says no, you need to find out what is that additional thing that's actually holding them back. Then once you find out that additional thing, then you ask that question again. So outside of A, and outside of B, is those the only two things that are stopping us from being able to get started today. Then the person's either going to say yes or they're going to say no. If they say yes, you can then go and handle those objections. If they say no, you need to loop back around and go find out what's the third thing. And once you have those three things, you need to ask it again. Is that the only three things that are stopping us from moving forward? And if you start noticing that it's like 4 or 5 different things and they start all dancing around or changing, or they're not really telling, like you can kind of tell after about 5 different objections, there's generally something that's going on. So in that scenario, what you need to ask is, hey, earlier you said that this thing was happening, this is why we got on the call, this is what you want, this is what your ideal situation is. But now, when we talk about the price, we talk about XYZ thing, first you said you had to go talk to your dog. Then you said you had to go buy a boat for your personal life tomorrow. Then you're going on vacation. You won't be back for another 6 months. Then, you're getting married, so you're never going to talk to me again. Like, those are 4 things that they're not really lining up with what you said earlier. Can you just from me, just tell me exactly like what's really going on? And the person is generally going to break down like what the truth is, right? Because in the close, the biggest part about the close and why most people struggle with closing is called truth. Okay. It's really truth and having an honest and open conversation, right? The thing that's going to stop you from making most sales is the thing that you don't ask or that you don't hear, that you don't find out. It's when you say your price, they say that it's expensive, but really what they meant is they have their sister or their brother or their spouse or their, depending on the age, like their grandparent doing the books. They've been doing it for 4 to 40 years, right? And they don't tell you that person is actually the same price, and they don't really want to let their sibling go or their family member go, right? That's the thing they don't tell you, but that's the thing that stops the sale from going through. And you think it's your price, but really it was just this one weird thing. Or they are, rather than paying you some money, they're mourning the loss of their dog, right? And they just don't really feel like doing any kind of decisions until after that's going. But you don't ask that question, or you don't ask a deep enough question for them to start uncovering what are the different things in their life outside of just the price that are stopping them from moving forward. If you don't ask that question, if you don't get the answer to that question, you're not going to be able to close the sale. And it's going to feel like you're getting ghosted every time. And then you're going to start thinking that, something's wrong with your sales skills, or you don't know how to sell, or you need a script, or you need all these different things. When really it was, you just didn't ask enough questions to go and move the person over the line. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense with closing. If that makes sense with closing, go ahead and write a 2 down inside of the chat below. Write a 2 down inside of the chat below. And I'll be able to go. I have to activate the chat. It looks like the chat doesn't work. That's interesting. So we're still kind of playing around with this like software called a Restream. So it's just like, it's a little different than what I expected it to be, but I still kind of like it because it allows me to be like in 5 places at one time. But that's just how it is sometimes. It's how it is sometimes. Just got to kind of learn and kind of do things differently. Okay, so now let's talk about closing. Yeah, because I'm seeing a bunch of people, like Sasha's putting a 2 down in the chat. Dano said, hey, stoked to be here. Dano, great to see you, Dano. Sasha put a 1 down, so that's really cool. You guys are interacting and stuff. Now, the next thing about closing, guys. So the hard thing when it comes to closing is number one, keeping your cool and not getting offended. Number two, it comes down to rather than thinking about what to say next, it's more about creating like this comfort inside of a conversation. Okay, so it should almost feel like, yeah, Tammy said inside the comments, don't assume the reason why. Ask the questions. Most likely they'll tell you when asking the right questions. Great response, Tammy. That's exactly why. Tammy is inside of my program and she is killing it right now. She is killing it. Mindset wise, I think maybe one day I'll bring her in as like a mindset coach for my program as we get a little bit bigger. Because yeah, man, like if you know how to control your mind and control your mentality, you guys are gonna make so much money. Like I was talking to this one person yesterday, and the difference between somebody who makes $30,000 a month and someone who makes like $5,000 a month is not necessarily different tactics, right? Anywhere from like 0 to 5K per month, yeah, that's about tactics. But like 10 to 30 is more about mindset and creating a very consistent work, business, and life environment to be able to grow. And then after that, it's about organization. Like one of my students, her name is Katie. We were talking today. Like she has about 1 to 3 clients every 2 days because she's been around for a long time. She has over about 50 bookkeeping clients. Then she has about I think like two to six. It's some large number of like tax prep clients, right? All to say is she has no problem getting clients. Right now, her biggest thing is we're going back through all of her old clients. We're raising the prices on some of those clients, and also we're working on her ability to organize her practice because she's about to bring on another contractor, maybe another employee. We haven't really decided which will be better for her, and then that's going to require a lot of organization, right? So she needs to get her process in place. Right now, she's still using like different like sheets and stuff like that, and they're communicating in their office back and forth to each other. But that's not going to really work when they start expanding. They get their third employee or their fourth person, right? So we have to really set those groundworks ahead of time, and it is really like a transitionary period for her, right? It's different, but that's kind of where you have to be at, right? It's all about like mindset and just learning how to balance yourself, and really not getting not getting annoyed with other people. Um, but yeah, that's kind of different things that you guys need to be thinking about. At least that's what I was thinking about at that level. I was just talking to one of my students today. This is kind of a side tangent. I don't know if I'm a person who can run like $1 billion business, right? Because it's just like dealing with the contractors I have now, dealing with like some of the teammates I have now. It's just like it's just hectic and crazy. We're not even at 7 figures yet, right? We're going towards 7 figures. We'll be at 7 figures probably. Don't want to jinx it, but we'll be at a 7 figure run rate probably in the next like 3 to 6 months, right? But it all comes from just a lot of like structured development, a lot of reinvesting in yourself. Like a lot of people don't understand that. Like the bigger you get, the more you're gonna be like investing both in yourself and in people and in like technology and just and research and development projects. Like you're gonna be keep investing money into it. I was speaking to this one lady today, and she's like, I want to make I'm not trying to be offensive when I say this. So the person was at $0 per month, right? $0. And we were talking. And then she goes, I want to be at $50,000 a month. And I was like, ooh. And I know that like part of these videos is like encouragement and showing you guys can make a lot of money, but please understand this stuff does not just happen. $50,000 per month. If you're making $50,000 per month, you are in the top 1% of income earners in the entire United States. That means out of 300 million individuals, there's only about 3 million individuals that do that, right? That make above that much money. In order to be inside the 1%, you have to do 1%er things. That means you have to be investing in yourself. Whenever I hear someone who says they want to make like, $50,000 a month or $100,000 a month, but they're afraid to spend more than $100 inside of their self-education, that's when I'm like, ugh, you're generally not going to make it. And I hate to be mean whenever I say stuff like that, but I generally don't like lying to people. Right. This stuff does take work. Getting to like 0 to 10K per month. Yeah, it doesn't take that much work, to be completely honest. Like you can do it if you just price your services correctly. But if you're trying to really grow and like you want to be like a millionaire, you want to go and hit 7 figures, maybe 8 figures in your lifetime, there does need to be a very concentrated push that needs to go. And that doesn't mean that you have to be working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, right? I don't have to work that much because I know how to delegate a lot of this stuff, right? But just know that there has to be a very systematic approach if you're going to grow your business to those really, really high levels and get to that 1%, right? If you're trying to get to $20,000 per month, it does need to like have some different things. So to get to $0 to $3,000 a month, you really need to have just an understanding of like basic sales principles. That's just when you get on the phone with someone, you don't blow the deal, right? Because then you can just price it correctly and then you can get a client for like $3,000 a month. When you're going from about $3,000 to about $10,000, it does come down to about having a little bit more of a consistent process to get leads in the door. It doesn't have to be a lot of leads, right? We have clients getting to 10K per month with only about 25 phone calls, right? Like 25 consultations where the person has agreed to finding out if you can help them out and they're aware there's a price that's going to be paid to get your accounting and bookkeeping services, right? About 25 calls. Now, when you're trying to go from about 10 to about 20, that one's going to be more about like partnerships. So getting other people to send leads your way, right? Because then you don't really have to worry that much about doing the marketing the same way. Okay. For example, the lady I was talking about, Katie, she got a client 2 weeks ago who was like a web developer. And the person like does all of his web development, but he works in like this co-working space. And that person has already sent her 6 other clients over the last 2 weeks since he started working with her. So he's paying her to do his books, and he's also sending his clients and his friends to her, right? That's how you keep growing without you doing it. So that 1 unit of output that we put to go and get that person is now doing 6 times the results, right? But it's 1/6 of the effort, right? She doesn't have to do any more effort outside of doing the existing work, and she doesn't keep getting more clients from that one individual. That's how you start getting like to 20 to 30, right? And then once you're at 30, it does take a little bit more. 30, you generally need to have more, like 30 to 50, you need to have more of like a scalable service. So like a service like my favorite service to scale is really like tax planning, just because it can be a flat rate. It's very, once you know how to calculate that, basically tax planning, tax resolution, and cleanup projects are the easiest one to scale if you're trying to go to like $30,000 to $50,000 a month, right? But that's kind of how I think whenever I'm thinking about growing a business, whenever I'm thinking about really um, getting my students to that number. And I know that some of you watching this, you might not even be at, $1,000 a month. That's okay. Like when you watch my stuff, it's not just about getting to 1,000 or getting your first client. This thing is about how to have a life, right? Where you can control how much money you make. You have the freedom to be able to do what you want. If you want to go start a second business, like you want to start a coaching business or a mentorship business, then you can do that because you have the time freedom to do so because your business is on recurring revenue. You have a team that's doing the work for you, and you have sales process in place so that you're getting the leads coming in on autopilot, for lack of a better word. Okay, so if you want some help, like this stuff is just resonating with you, like you just love business, you just love trying to like, provide for your family without having to work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You want to maybe make, 10 to $20,000 a month or work about 20 to 30 hours a week. Then I just invite you to go ahead and click on the link inside the description and book a call with me to see if I can help you reach that goal. Yeah, we're going to look at where you are right now. Going to take a look at where do you want to go. If I think that the way that I help people grow their business is in alignment with where you want to go and the way that you want to do it, then I'll say, hey, here's exactly how much it costs for you with your configuration of all different options you want. We can say, hey, you want to do this thing? Yes or not right now. Most people say yes. Some people say not right now. If you say not right now, there's no hard feelings. We can always, reconnect in the future when it's a better time. But if you are ready, we'll just say, hey, let's do this thing. Let's reach your goal. And then you end up on my YouTube channel or my behind the scenes wall of all the different students we've helped. So if that's you, I'll see you on the call. If it's not you right now, that's okay too. We have more YouTube videos and just more stuff on our channel to help you grow until you are ready. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you inside of the next video. Take it easy.